Imagine if your last name suddenly ended up becoming the word for emperor for 2,000 years, including in places where you were their enemy. That's what actually happened to Julius Caesar. And here's what most people, I think, don't know. He was never actually emperor himself. My name's Cameron Riley. I'm the co-host of the Life of Caesar podcast. When Big Julie got stabbed to death by his closest associates in 44 BCE, he wasn't an emperor or a king. He was a dictator, which was a pretty commonly used role in the Roman Republic. Now, he was dictator for life, which was pretty unusual, but he wasn't a king, he wasn't an emperor. Anyway, he got murdered, and pretty quickly, his last name became the kind of unofficial title for emperor, and it kind of made sense in the early days. The first emperor was Augustus Caesar, but he didn't even use the term emperor, which comes from the Latin word imperator. An imperator was basically the Roman equivalent of a commander. It was a special title that your troops had to bestow upon you as a general if you won a particularly outstanding victory. In order for you to go back to Rome and for the Senate to give you a triumph, your troops had to have declared that you were imperator. And Augustus himself wasn't actually a great soldier. He preferred to have other guys fight his battles for him, unlike Julius Caesar, who was, in fact, a great general. And Augustus really never played on the imperator thing. He called himself the princeps, the first man of Rome. He didn't need a title. That's when you know you've really made it. If you don't actually need a title, people just know who you are and what's going on. And he actually wasn't even born a Caesar. His name when he was born was Gaius Octavius. He was Julius Caesar's great nephew. But when Julius Caesar was assassinated, in his will, he posthumously adopted Gaius Octavius, who then took the name Gaius Julius Caesar as part of the adoption process, which was pretty common in Rome. The next emperor, the one who really first used the title, was Tiberius. He was Augustus's stepson. Again, wasn't born a Caesar, but again was adopted and got the name through the adoption. The next three, Caligula, Claudius, and Nero, were all members of the Julio-Claudian family and were able to use the name more naturally. By the time Nero died, about a century after Big Julie, by the way, despite what you may have heard about Nero, really wasn't a bad guy, just had bad PR. The name had become more of a title, which was pretty convenient after Nero in the year of the four emperors, because nobody really knew who the emperor was on any given day. So you didn't need to know the emperor's name. You could go, hey, g'day Caesar, how's it going? And it'll be fine. But here's my favorite part of the story. Almost 2,000 years later, Caesar was still the name of emperors in places like Germany, where Caesar had actually battled Germanic tribes back in the day. 2,000 years later, they're using his name as Kaiser, which is pretty much how it would have been pronounced in the days of Julius Caesar in the Roman Republic. And in Russia, it was a Tsar. Again, same word. You know you've made it when your enemies adopt your name as the name for the supreme leader. The last people to use the title Caesar as emperor, it all came to an end in 1918 at the end of World War I. Unless, of course, Trump decides to pick it up and start calling him Caesar, which could happen any day now.